So it's such an exciting day for me today because I'm putting all the peppers in the ground, and I absolutely love a day like today. I mean, I really like planting. It's one of my favourite activities on the allotment, and I also really like harvesting, but I don't really like rearing seedlings, especially at this stage when they're really big and cluttering everything up, need watering every day. It's just a real pain. So I'm just so excited to get things in the ground. So I've got quite a nice range of peppers this year. I'm putting all my sweet peppers in the ground. I just find it's a lot easier to deal with them when they're in the ground than in containers. And I like it also on the allotment because I can put a little covers over them, and that just keeps the wind off them, keeps them a little bit warmer, and they seem to do really nicely in those, better actually than they do in the polytunnel. And I'm putting all my chili peppers in my little greenhouse. So I'll show you the range of stuff that I've got, and I'll show you how to prepare the beds and plant and all of that sort of thing. So I'm clearing beds today, and lots of people talk about how weed-free my beds are. Well, I left this one just for a couple of weeks actually, just so you could show you exactly what my beds are actually like if I don't keep on top of the weeding. And a lot of people also say, what do you do about slugs and snails? And I have a little section in my ebook about this, which I'll link to below. But one of the ways that I control them is by fully clearing the beds in between each crop. And sometimes I will do a lot of interplanting, but I do try at least once or twice a year to fully clear the beds. And the benefit of that is that things like lettuces are just the most amazing kind of slug and snail traps. And so these plants sort of left here are absolutely full of slugs and snails. And so by clearing these, and of course I'm adding the slugs and snails to my compost bins, but they don't tend to live in there for very long. Yeah, I'm sort of just clearing the whole bed out, and it's a good way of each, let's say twice a year, kind of reducing the slug and snail population, probably by 70%, something like that. So here's another bed, and this is an example where I can't fully clear it, but I will have a rummage around underneath these peas just to make sure I get all the weeds and all of the snails out at least. And when I'm clearing a bed, I use this trusty asparagus knife, which looks a bit lethal, but I like it because I can just go just underneath the roots like that and just take out a lettuce. These turnips, unfortunately, a few of them have gone to seed, and so I'll just pull those out. But for the lettuces, I like to leave the roots in, and that's the best way I've found to do it. A lot of material to compost at the moment, and so almost all of it is greens. So what I'm doing is I'm just chopping up these brassica stems, which are the closest thing that I've got to browns at the moment. But what I'm also doing is I'm just taking this kind of partially composted material and just turning it on top of the leaves, something like that. And the result is kind of especially fine, lovely compost that's kind of double greened, if you know what I mean. So twice the number of greens that I would normally have get added to it because of this second greening up. So this is the last bed that I'm clearing today, and it's got spinach in it, which obviously has gone to seed. And interplanted into the spinach are little turnips and radishes, so I'm going to leave those in, and I'm going to plant the peppers in between those. So hopefully you can see all the little turnips there, and even though they were kind of buried below the spinach, they've still grown really nicely. This spinach actually has been wonderful. This is giant winter. It's been the best spinach we've ever grown, and it was our first year this year. Looks a lot nicer when it's not going to seed. But I think we took 24 harvests of this before we pulled it out. So that is pretty good going. So now I've got to get the mare's tail out, and you can't get rid of mare's tail in an established bed like this. It's just too deep rooted, you know, the roots can go down 4-6 feet down. So all you can do is just keep cutting it off, and eventually weaken the plants, and eventually That's the theory. At least it will be a fairly manageable problem. It's not bad actually in a bed like this, because this is going to be peppers, and there's not many peppers. I put 6 pepper plants in a bed this size, and once they're mature they fill out the whole bed, so you can't really fit much else in. But with only 6 plants it's quite easy to kind of weed around them and keep the mare's tail under control. And they're going to be on this little low tunnel. Anyway, to get the mare's tail out, I just use the knife again. I just go down a few inches and just cut it off. You can pull it out, but it's just quick and easy with the knife. So I'll just quickly show you what the polytunnel looks like at the moment. All the benches are just full of peppers and tomatoes, although most of my tomatoes are at home. All these hanging baskets, got my sweet corn here, carrots in the hanging basket, still not tried harvesting any of those yet. More peppers here, and I've got to say I'm quite pleased with them. This is my second batch. I think they're a bit too big, to be honest, so I will be starting them a couple of weeks later next year. But these were started, I'll just have to get a label up here just to tell you, on the 7th of February. I did start some in January, just because I'm not very experienced at growing peppers, and everybody else on YouTube was starting the peppers in January. I definitely won't be doing any of that again. I've basically just given all those away. They were just way too big. And as I said, even 2nd of February, these are too big. But anyway, that's just the way it is. Always learning. So I've been pretty busy all over the plot over the last couple of days, and so I just cleared some gaps in this bed. Hopefully you can see the nice big deep holes there, which are for the peppers, and I'll just harvest this bed over the next couple of weeks. I just took a nice harvest of turnips and lettuce from this bed, and I just popped in some spare shallots, and I will interplant all of those with spring onions. And I was pretty excited actually, because I saw I've got my first Moorish 2 and sugar snap peas in this early bed. So that's the bed that had all that mare's tail in it and lettuces, so that's all ready to go. And for somebody who's such a fan of interplanting, you might think, why don't I kind of fully interplant into the pepper beds? And basically it's just because they're under these low covers, and it would just be so much watering to keep the whole of these beds watered. So I'm basically just watering the root zone of the peppers, which is a lot less watering. But at least in this bed here I've got radishes and parsnips, which were interplanted with the spinach. So I took the spinach out, left those in, and I'll be harvesting those probably in about 3 weeks' time. So they won't get in the way of the peppers at all. So that's the first bed planted. So those are long red Marconi, and I will be putting canes in to support them, because they are on little baby canes at the moment. But obviously they'll need a good decent sized cane, because they're going to grow probably close to twice that size. So I'll just show you how I do the planting. So basically I make a big deep hole with a bulb planter, and then that takes a nice big core out, and it doesn't disrupt the soil very much. But the holes then are not quite big enough for the pots, so I just ease them back with my hand like that, just make them about the right size. Then I get one of the pots, put that in the hole, and give it a good kind of press down until this soil level in here is level with this soil level, and then I know that the plant is just going to pop straight into that hole, no problem at all. I just need to ease that back a bit more in order to achieve that. So that's basically what I'm looking for. And actually before I do that, I also backfill the holes a bit because they're too deep with a nice mix of compost and some well composted concentrated cow manure and seaweed meal, so just give the plants a good start. But I don't over fertilise the beds because I'll be using a liquid feed. So all the round holes are now square holes. So I'll put the canes on now and the bed will just close, which is just the way I want it, but obviously I won't be leaving this cover closed apart from in the very worst of stormy weather. Most of the time it'll just be on its lowest prop. For now it's on its highest prop, and so I've got long red Marconi in this bed, and in the other one it's half pop tea and half yellow California Wonder. So that's all the peppers in. So these are pop tea, those are golden California Wonder, these are California Wonder and Red King, and they will sulk a bit for the first few days, but fortunately, although it's sunny tomorrow, we are kind of having cloudy and rainy weather, so that'll just allow them to get nicely settled in. And it's going to be pretty stormy, but I'll just close these low covers, and so the plants will be just fine inside there. And these are ones I planted a while back. These are tiny little ones, but they're growing on okay now. And I've got some down there, let's just take a look at these. These are young, long yellow Ringo. And lots of people ask about pinching the tops out to encourage side shoots. Well, what I find is that as soon as you put them in the ground and they've got capacity to kind of support side shoots, the side shoots just start to come. And it won't be very long, you know, just a few weeks. And all these side shoots, which weren't present a week ago when I planted these, will all be growing out nicely. So I think it's just nice to let the plants take the time and put on the side shoot growth when they naturally would, i.e. when they're in the ground and got plentiful access to nutrients and water. And then this is the last bed, and then these are long red Marconi. I've got to say, I do like it when they're all nicely interplanted like this. And these I think are pop tea at the back, and I can't remember what's at the back, but anyway, at the front. But anyway, hopefully, I think they're more yellow California Wonders. So next I'm on to my absolute favourite leafy green in summer, salad green, golden purslane. The fiddliest thing to grow in modules, I find. I did prick these out and transplant them into these module cells, and I think that was a mistake. Not that many of them took. I think I should have been better off just direct sowing them in the modules. But I've also tried direct sowing them in the ground, and they've actually germinated pretty well in here. I need to thin them out a bit even. So maybe I shall just do that next year. It'll be interesting to compare the two beds. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.